I mean, he's a real soldier, my sister said, lifting her wine glass, not a desk worker. Her fiancé smirked beside her, standing tall in his decorated green uniform. My father chuckled. My mother covered her mouth as if trying to hold back laughter, but she couldn't. I sat there in my navy dress whites, silent, my fork still untouched. Danielle, don't take it personally, my sister added with a polite but mocking smile. It's just that some of us serve where there's actual danger. Then she reached across the table and accidentally knocked over her full glass. Dark red wine splashed across my chest and lap, soaking straight through the fabric. Oh no, she gasped. Looks like her little badge couldn't prevent that. The table burst into laughter. Everyone except one person. Her fiancé had gone quiet, rigid. His eyes had settled on the service insignia above my name tag. The bronze and silver stitching caught the overhead light. He leaned closer, squinting slightly, and then his face turned pale. No words, no blink, just a sudden realization. That's when I slowly stood up. "Excuse me," I said, "I need to clean up." But the real stain in that room wasn't the wine, and he understood that. I changed in silence, staring at my soaked uniform crumpled in the sink. When I returned downstairs, no one noticed I was back. They were still laughing, passing around my sister's engagement ring as if it were a prize. Everyone except her fiancé. He hadn't moved. His posture was stiff now, like someone who had just realized he'd stepped on a landmine. When his eyes finally met mine, the smug look was gone. Instead, they were sharp and attentive. "You served with the 7th Fleet?" he asked quietly, almost as if he didn't want the others to hear. My sister rolled her eyes. "Don't exaggerate, Jake." She filed reports in an office. He ignored her completely. "Where were you stationed?" I took a small sip of water. "Okinawa for 5 years, then Diego Garcia." He swallowed hard. "Special clearance?" I nodded once. And that's when he went completely still. Because he understood. He recognized the insignia. Most people wouldn't, but soldiers like him, the ones who had worked joint operations before, they knew exactly what that badge represented. Top secret missions, combat coordination, signals intelligence. Real danger, but with zero public credit. I could see the color draining from his face. He turned slowly toward my sister. "You didn't tell me she was Navy intelligence." My sister blinked in confusion. "She's what?" The room fell completely silent. My sister looked back and forth between us as if we were speaking a different language. "What's the big deal?" she said, letting out an uneasy laugh. "She just handles paperwork. She didn't actually do anything." Jake leaned back slowly, his eyes still fixed on me. "You coordinated missions, didn't you?" I stayed quiet. "You worked in live operations, real-time intercepts. That insignia is only issued for field operations." My father scoffed. "You mean what? Like radio work? That's not the same as boots on the ground, son." Jake's jaw tightened. "With respect, sir, sometimes the boots don't make it home without someone like her." My mom tried to calm the tension. "Let's just eat. Danielle, no one's attacking you." But I wasn't waiting for their approval. I turned to Jake. "Did you serve in Kandahar in 2019? He blinked. "Yeah, 2nd rotation." "I thought so. I saw your unit's code in the live operation logs." He looked at me like he had just seen something unexpected. My sister slammed her hand on the table. "What is going on? She's not some hero. She never even told us about any of this." I looked at her calmly. "Because it wasn't information meant for you." That stopped her, not because she understood, but because Jake did. And now he wasn't looking at her the way a fiancé normally would. Dessert was brought out, but no one touched it. Jake's chair scraped against the floor as he stood. "Excuse me," he muttered, stepping outside onto the porch. I saw him pull out his phone. He paced back and forth, then stopped and stared out into the darkness. My sister followed him outside. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I saw enough, the way she gestured while speaking, his refusal to meet her eyes, and the way he pulled back when she tried to grab his hand. Inside, my father leaned closer to me. "You always do this," he whispered sharply. "You make everything about yourself. You couldn't just let your sister have her moment." I met his gaze calmly. I didn't say anything until she spilled wine on my uniform. He dismissed it with a wave. She was nervous. You know how she is. That had always been their excuse for her. You know how she is. No one ever asked how I was, not when I returned from operations exhausted and barely sleeping. Not when I spent nights intercepting coordinates that helped soldiers like Jake avoid ambushes. Not when I sent flowers for their anniversaries and received silence in return. At that moment, my sister came back inside. Her eyes were red and her jaw was tight. "He left," she said bitterly. "He said he needed time." Then she turned directly toward me. "What the hell did you say to him?" "What did you say to him?" "I didn't say anything," I replied calmly. "He simply recognized the truth." She scoffed. "Truth, please. You sat behind a desk. You're not a hero, Danielle. You're just a sad, invisible woman trying to feel important." My mom and dad didn't interrupt her. They remained silent, which somehow felt worse. But this time, I didn't react. I stood up slowly and walked toward the sideboard. I opened a thin folder I had brought and placed it carefully on the table. Inside was a redacted letter of commendation stamped with the Naval Joint Forces seal, along with a silver-framed photo behind glass. The image showed a covert team operation, 6 figures with blurred faces. One face, not mine, stood in full gear beside a downed helicopter in the Hindu Kush. My sister looked confused. My father frowned. "What is this?" I looked around the table. "This," I said, "is the operation your future son-in-law was pulled from when his extraction point was compromised." I paused briefly. "My team rerouted the live GPS feed during the mission and sent in the backup aircraft. He doesn't owe me anything, but he remembers." My sister looked shaken. "So what now? You're going to take him from me?" I shook my head slowly. I already did nothing, and that was enough. 2 days later, Jake arrived at my base without warning. Not with flowers, not with apologies, with questions. "I looked you up," he said, "as much as I could. Some of it's classified, but what I could find. Danielle, I don't know how many men owe their lives to you." I didn't respond. I let the silence speak for itself. He looked uneasy. "I proposed to your sister thinking I understood who she was." "I didn't. Not really." I raised an eyebrow slightly. "And now," he continued, "I know who you are. I saw how she mocked you in front of your own family. I saw how they allowed it. That's not love. That's a performance." He looked down at his hands. "I don't think I want to marry into a situation like that." I leaned back in my chair. "That's your decision, but don't use me as the reason. Walk away because it's wrong, not because something else seems right." He stood up. "Understood." As he reached the doorway, he paused. "For what it's worth," he said, "thank you, for then and for now." After he left, I remained seated alone. Not proud. Not satisfied. Just clear-minded. Clarity is better than revenge, because once the truth is visible, it does the work on its own. By the end of the week, the news had spread. Jake had called off the engagement. My sister was devastated, telling anyone who would listen and reshaping the story to her advantage. She manipulated him, she cried on social media. My sister continued lying about what really happened. But the problem with lying about someone is simple. When that person has documented clearance. I didn't post anything. I didn't respond publicly. But Jake did. He left a single comment under her emotional post. "You mocked a decorated veteran in front of your family. I didn't walk away because of her. I walked away because of you." Her followers turned on her quickly. Not in a harsh way, more like a quiet, disapproving withdrawal. One by one, people stepped back, and suddenly, the image she had carefully created no longer looked so perfect. My mom texted me once, just a single sentence. "You humiliated your sister." I didn't reply, because I hadn't. She had done that herself. I simply existed long enough for the truth to appear. I wish I could say I felt satisfied watching everything collapse, that I smiled seeing her reputation fall apart. But honestly, what I mostly felt was peace. Because sometimes you don't need to burn bridges. You just allow people to cross them while holding the matches themselves. A month later, I received a letter in the mail. Handwritten, no return address, but I recognized the handwriting immediately. It was from Jake. He didn't ask for anything. He didn't confess feelings. He only wrote one sentence that stayed with me. "You carry silence like armor, not to hide, but to protect people who never deserved it." I thought about that line for a long time. Because he was right. For 8 years, I didn't speak up. Not during holidays, not during insults, not even when they turned my service into a joke. I stayed quiet for the sake of peace, for family, for appearances, for the illusion of harmony. But peace isn't real when one person has to suffer in silence just to keep everyone else comfortable. That dinner, that night, it broke something. And strangely, in breaking it, it set me free. After that, I moved to a smaller city, a quiet place. I started teaching at the Base Academy. Now I mentor younger women, the ones who stay silent because they think silence means strength. And when they ask about my past, I tell them one thing. Sometimes the loudest statement you will ever make is saying nothing at all. Let the truth speak for you, and let time separate the truth from the noise.